"Excuse me, could you tell me where downtown is?" The male voice made Ruby look up from the crate of mangoes she was organizing, and for a moment, she was speechless. There stood a tall young man, dark hair messy from the wind, simple but clearly expensive clothes next to a gray Audi, with an expression on his face she couldn't decipher, as if he were lost, but not just geographically. "Which town?" Ruby dried her hands on her floral apron, tilting her head with a curious smile. "Because if it's our town here, you've pretty much arrived. Just go straight for another couple of miles." Ethan looked around, seeing for the first time where he had stopped. The small fruit stand stood out by the roadside like a colorful oasis, wooden crates displaying golden guavas, red mangoes, and striped watermelons, all protected by a circus tent-like tarp that danced softly in the afternoon breeze. The sweet aroma of ripe fruit mingled with the smell of damp earth, creating an atmosphere he had never experienced. "Actually," he said, running a hand through his hair, "I'm not really sure where I'm going. I just drove out of New York City with no destination." "Ah, one of those days." Ruby nodded with understanding, as if running away from your own life was the most natural thing in the world. "It happens to everyone. Want a glass of water? You look a bit down." Her spontaneous kindness caught him off guard. "You don't need to bother." "Nonsense." Ruby was already heading to a cooler at the back of the stand. "It's scorching hot today. Besides, my great-aunt always says we don't let anyone go thirsty at our door." As she rummaged in the cooler, Ethan watched her. There was something in the way Ruby moved, in the ease with which she smiled, that fascinated him. It was all so different from the world he came from, where every gesture was calculated, every word measured, where helping a stranger without expecting anything in return was almost unthinkable. "Here you go." She returned with a plastic cup full of ice water. "Drink as much as you like. The water here is from a well, very fresh." Ethan took a long sip and felt the cold liquid calm not just his thirst, but something deeper he couldn't name. "Thank you. How much do I owe you?" Ruby laughed, a crystalline sound that cut through the tension he didn't even know he was carrying. "You don't owe me anything, mister. It's just water. Are you traveling alone?" "I'm unplugging a bit," he said, buying time to formulate a better answer. It was strange how comfortable he felt talking to this stranger. "That's good. The world is really moving too fast anyway." Ruby went back to arranging the fruits with natural, careful movements. "I only truly understood that myself when I came back here. Sometimes you need to stop to remember who you are." "And who are you?" The question slipped out before he could filter it. "Ruby." She extended her hand with a genuine smile. "Ruby Santos. And this stand here belongs to my great-aunt, Grandma Rose. All the fruits are from our backyard." "Ethan," he said, shaking her hand and feeling the contrast between her soft skin and the calluses from work. "And you always wanted to work with fruits?" "Actually, I was studying culinary arts in the city, but I came back to take care of my great-aunt." A shadow crossed Ruby's face but was soon replaced by a serene smile. "She's getting more fragile, and someone needs to help. And besides," she gestured to the surrounding scenery, the orange sky of late afternoon, the mountains in the background, the gentle breeze carrying the sound of birds. "There are worse things in life than living in a beautiful place like this." Ethan felt a pang in his chest. When was the last time someone had spoken about family like that, with genuine love, instead of obligation? When was the last time he himself had looked around and seen beauty instead of responsibilities? "It really is beautiful," he agreed, and for the first time the phrase didn't come out automatically. "Want to try a guava? They're extra sweet today." Ruby selected one of the fruits, testing its firmness with her fingers. "It's from our harvest. I don't want to overstay my welcome." "Nonsense. A guava won't break anyone." She extended the fruit with a mischievous smile. "And you look like someone who's never eaten a guava straight from the tree." Ethan took the guava, bit into it, and was surprised by the intense sweetness, so different from the bland fruits he was used to eating in expensive restaurants. The juice ran down his chin and he laughed. When was the last time he had eaten something with his hands? "Is it good?" Ruby asked, and there was something in the way she awaited the answer that made Ethan realize that simple fruit carried all the care and pride of those who cultivated it. "It's perfect," he said, and wanted to say it wasn't just about the guava. They stayed there talking as the sun set, and Ethan completely lost track of time. For the first time in years, he didn't want to be anywhere else. His cell phone alarm rang at 6 in the morning, but Ethan wasn't in his king-size bed in New York City. He was in a simple room at the Maple Grove Inn, looking at the wooden ceiling that let in slivers of golden light. He hadn't been home for 3 days. His cell phone vibrated insistently. 17 missed calls from his father, 23 messages from his mother. Ethan turned off the phone. He put on the jeans he'd bought in town, the first piece of clothing he'd chosen for himself in years, and left for a destination that had already become natural, the fruit stand. "Good morning, stranger." Ruby greeted him with that smile that seemed to light up the morning. "You're early today. Want some coffee? If it's no bother." "Ethan?" She shook her head with an amused expression. "You'll have to stop apologizing for everything. Here, we offer things because we want to." He accepted the steaming mug. The coffee was strong, tasted like home, nothing like the elaborate espressos he drank in meetings. "Can I ask an indiscreet question?" Ruby went back to organizing the crates, but watched him out of the corner of her eye. "Don't you have work? Family? Anyone waiting for you?" Ethan almost choked. How to explain that he did have a family, a business empire waiting, an entire life planned by others? "It's complicated," he finally said. "Family always is." Ruby smiled with understanding. "But if you want to talk—" "Actually," Ethan interrupted her, surprised by the courage growing in his chest. "Do you know anyone who needs help? Temporary work, anything. I'd like to stay a few more days." "Seriously?" Ruby's face lit up. "You really want to stay?" "I do. Mr. Peterson, who has the garden across the road, needed help preparing the land. It's hard work, but—" She hesitated. "It's very different from what you must be used to." Ethan looked at his own hands, too soft. "I think that's exactly what I need." "Then come on." Ruby tied her apron. "I'll introduce you." They crossed the road to a small property where a man in his 60s with sun-baked skin was turning over the earth with a hoe. "Mr. Peterson, I brought a candidate to help you." The man studied Ethan up and down, new clothes, upright posture, hands without calluses, and laughed. "This kid won't last 2 days working the land, Ruby." "I will," Ethan said firmly. "Oh, really?" Mr. Peterson leaned the hoe against the ground. "Have you ever worked with land before, kid?" "No, but I can learn. It's work from sunup to sundown, 6 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. Aching arms, broken back, dirt under your fingernails. Still want to try?" Ethan looked at Ruby, who was watching him with curiosity, then at the mountains in the background, at that land that promised to be more honest than any board meeting. "I do." "Then welcome to hell, kid." Mr. Peterson guffawed and extended his calloused hand. "Starts tomorrow, 6 sharp. If you're late, don't bother coming." Back at the stand, Ruby was visibly excited. "I can't believe you're actually staying." "For how long?" Ethan didn't know. Somewhere far away, his family must be furious, perhaps hiring investigators. In a few months, he'd miss his semester at Harvard, disappoint centuries-old expectations. But when he looked at Ruby, he saw someone happy simply because he had chosen to stay. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But for the first time in my life, this uncertainty doesn't scare me." Ethan's body screamed in pain. Every muscle protested movement when he tried to get out of bed at the inn. It was 7 in the evening, and he had spent the last 11 hours digging, carrying rocks, and learning firsthand that working with the earth was very different from attending meetings in air-conditioned rooms. His hands were full of blisters. His back throbbed. The skin on his face and arms was red even with the sunscreen Ruby had insisted he use. But strangely, he was smiling. He took a long shower, letting the warm water relax his tense muscles, and headed to the fruit stand. It had become a ritual, ending the day talking with Ruby as she closed up shop and organized everything for the next day. "My goodness, Ethan." Ruby's eyes widened when she saw him coming. "You're red as a beet. Didn't I tell you the sun here is intense?" "You did. I'm just stubborn." He sat on a plastic chair next to the stand, feeling every joint complain. "But I survived the first day. Mr. Peterson said you worked like a dog." He was impressed. Ruby took a homemade salve from a bag. "Here, put this on your sunburn. It's aloe vera with chamomile, Grandma Rose's recipe. Ethan accepted the jar, accidentally touching her hand as he took it. The brief contact made his heart race, but Ruby didn't seem to notice. Thank you for everything, really. He began applying the salve to his face, feeling immediate relief. You didn't have to help me get the job. Of course I did. You clearly came here running from something, lost like a stray dog. Ruby smiled, but there was affection in the teasing. And besides, it's good to have someone new in town. The same faces every day start to get tiresome. What about you? Never thought about leaving here? The question made Ruby pause in the middle of arranging a crate of oranges. I already left. I spent 2 years in the city studying culinary arts. And how was it? Complicated. She sat on the chair next to him, looking at the horizon where the sun was beginning to set. At first it was exciting. Big city, opportunities, different people. I was in my 3rd semester working at a nice restaurant, learning French techniques. Ethan noticed the change in her tone of voice. What happened? Grandma Rose had a fall, broke her hip, was bedridden for months. There was no one else to take care of her, so... Ruby shrugged, as if the decision had been obvious. I came back. And you don't regret it? Sometimes. Her honesty surprised him, especially when I see photos of my classmates graduating, opening restaurants, traveling the world. But then I look at Grandma Rose. I see how happy she gets when we sell well in a week, when someone praises the fruits. Ruby smiled. And I think that maybe there are different ways to be happy. Ethan felt a pang in his chest. You dreamed of having your own restaurant? Actually, I dreamed of reopening the family bakery. This stand here used to be a small bakery. Grandma Rose made the best sweets in the region. Ruby's eyes shone with the memory. But then the downturn came. Business slowed down, and she had to close. She turned it into a fruit stand to survive. And you'd like to go back to baking? I love it. I still do it sometimes for special occasions in town. Weddings, birthdays. Ruby laughed. But it's just a hobby now. They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the sky turn orange and pink. Ethan thought about his own life, the dreams he had never been allowed to dream, the choices that had always been made by others. Ruby, he said suddenly, can I ask you a personal question? You can. Are you happy? She looked at him with surprise, as if no one had ever asked that before. What a strange question, Ethan. Sorry, I shouldn't have. No, it's not that. Ruby shook her head. It's just that no one has ever asked me that. People always ask if everything is okay, if I need anything, if Grandma Rose is better. But happiness? She paused, thoughtful. I think so. In a different way than I imagined when I was younger, but yes. What do you mean? When I was a teenager, I thought happiness was about success, recognition, money to travel the world. But here I have other things. Time to watch the sunset every day, true relationships, the satisfaction of taking care of someone I love. Ruby looked him directly in the eyes. What about you? Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I've never stopped to think about it. It was always about fulfilling expectations, doing what was expected. Ethan felt a strange vulnerability admitting this. But these last few days here, I think it's the first time I felt good about myself. Ruby smiled, a different smile from the others. Softer, more intimate. Then maybe you should stay longer to find out. Ethan's heart beat faster. There was something in the way she said it, in the sparkle in her eyes that made him want to stay not just a few days, but forever. So you're the young man Ruby won't stop talking about. Ethan almost dropped the crate of oranges when he heard the voice behind him. He turned and saw a small elderly woman, white hair tied in a bun, lively eyes that seemed to see beyond the surface. Grandma Rose? He extended his hand. It's a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure is mine, dear. She squeezed his hand with surprising firmness. First time working with land, huh? You have hands that have never held a hoe. Ruby appeared, running, cheeks flushed. Grandma Rose, you can't go out alone like that. Stop fussing, child. I wanted to meet the young man who managed to make you smile again. Grandma Rose turned to Ethan with a mischievous smile. And you, young man? What makes a big city person stop at a lost stand in the countryside? I needed a break from my life, Ethan said. Ah, the famous escape. I did that once when I was young. It was supposed to be temporary. She laughed. 70 years later, I'm still here. Sometimes what we think is an escape is actually an arrival. Tell him about the bakery, Grandma Rose, Ruby suggested. Grandma Rose's eyes lit up. It was right where the stand is today. I made the best sweets in the region. People came from neighboring towns just to taste them. Why did it close? Life happened. Downturn, business slowed, competition. You have to choose between your dream and survival. But did you teach Ruby everything? She has better hands than mine. More delicate, more creative. Grandma Rose looked at her granddaughter with pride. If she only had the opportunity. Grandma Rose, stop it, Ruby interrupted. Ruby, go get those chocolate truffles you made yesterday. There's no need. Go get them. The tone allowed no discussion. When Ruby went into the house, Grandma Rose approached Ethan. Can I give you some advice, young man? This girl has suffered a lot. She gave up a lot to take care of me. If you're just passing through, it's better to leave soon. There was firmness in her voice. But if you're really here, I am, Ethan said without hesitation. Then prove it, not with words, with actions. Ruby returned with a platter of chocolate truffles. Try one. Ethan took one of the sweets and put it in his mouth. The texture was perfect. The flavor exploded. Intense chocolate, with a subtle hint of coffee and salt that enhanced everything. My goodness, he murmured, taking another. This is incredible, Ruby. I've eaten sweets in expensive restaurants. This surpasses anything. Really? She smiled, radiant. You should be selling these, Ruby. People would pay a lot. It's just a hobby. To do it professionally, you need infrastructure, equipment, a health permit. It's very complicated. Everything in life is complicated until you decide you really want to do it, Grandma Rose said, looking significantly at Ethan. He understood the message, and for the first time since he arrived there, he began to form a plan. Ethan's cell phone vibrated insistently in his pocket as he dug rows for planting lettuce. It had been almost 2 weeks since his escape, and his parents' calls were becoming more frequent and desperate. Are you going to answer or not? Mr. Peterson asked, wiping sweat from his forehead with his shirt sleeve. It's not important, Ethan lied, turning off the phone once again. Kid, in 2 weeks you've received more calls than I have in 2 years. The older man laughed. Must be someone very worried. Ethan didn't answer, concentrating on the damp earth in his hands. Every day that passed, it became harder to imagine returning to New York City, to the expensive suits and endless meetings. Here he had found something he didn't know he was looking for. Mr. Peterson, he said suddenly, do you know anyone who understands documentation for small businesses? What kind of business? A bakery, health permits, that kind of thing. Mr. Peterson stopped working and looked at him with curiosity. Are you thinking of opening a bakery? Not exactly me. Ethan hesitated. How to explain without revealing his plans? It's for a friend. Ah, Ruby. The smile on the man's face was knowing. Kid, everyone here knows that girl's sweets are a blessing. Grandma Rose always says she should go back to doing it professionally. So it's possible? Of course it is. My brother-in-law works at City Hall. He handles all that paperwork. But you'll need infrastructure, equipment. Mr. Peterson leaned closer, lowering his voice. Those things cost money, Ethan. And her family doesn't have much. Ethan nodded, feigning concern. In truth, money was the least of his problems. He had a bank account that could buy 10 bakeries if he wanted. But how to explain that without revealing who he really was? In the late afternoon, after work, he found Ruby organizing the stand for the next day. She was quieter than usual. Everything okay? He asked, sitting on the plastic chair he already considered his own. My mother called today, Ruby said, without looking up from the crates. She found out you're in town. Ethan's heart raced. And? She wants to know who you are, where you came from, what you're doing here. Ruby finally looked at him. And I didn't know what to tell her. Ethan felt the weight of the lie growing in his chest. Ruby, you never talk about your family, your work, your life before you got here. She crossed her arms. It's like you appeared out of nowhere. It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated, Ethan. There was a sadness in her voice he had never heard before. Look, I enjoy your company. A lot. But people are starting to talk and I need to know. Are you running from something serious? Debts? Legal trouble? No, it's nothing like that. Ethan stood up, desperate to reassure her. Ruby, I would never do anything that could harm you. Then tell me the truth. Ethan looked at her, her concerned brown eyes, her hands still dirty from work, the simple apron she wore every day, and felt his chest tighten. How to tell her he was heir to a fortune without her thinking he was playing with her life? My family has money, he finally said. A lot of money. And they wanted to send me abroad to study business, take over the family company. The words tumbled out. I didn't want to. I ran away. I ended up here by chance and found something I didn't know I was looking for. Ruby watched him in silence for long seconds. What kind of money? The kind that solves any problem you can imagine, he admitted, embarrassed. And you're here playing at being poor? No. The accusation hit him like a punch. Ruby, I never played with anything. Everything I felt here, everything I experienced with you is real. But you lied. I omitted it. It's different. Is it? Ruby shook her head, disappointed. Ethan, do you know what I gave up to be here? Do you know how many nights I stay awake wondering if I'll be able to pay the monthly bills? And you were here with enough money to solve all problems, pretending you understand my life? I understand. You don't understand anything. Ruby picked up her bag and started locking up the stand. You need to decide, Ethan. Either you're honest with me about who you really are, or it's better to go back to your rich life and leave me alone. She walked away toward the house, leaving Ethan alone on the empty road, with the weight of the truth finally revealed, and the feeling that he might have lost the only thing that truly mattered. Ethan woke to someone knocking on the in-room door. It was 6 a.m, and he had spent the entire night sleepless, replaying the conversation with Ruby in his head. Ethan Sterling. The voice on the other side of the door was familiar and authoritative. Open this door now. Ethan's blood ran cold. It was his father. He slowly got up, put on a t-shirt, and opened the door. Robert Sterling stood there, impeccable even after driving 5 hours from New York City, accompanied by a man in a suit whom Ethan recognized as the family lawyer. Dad, Ethan began, but was interrupted. Do you have any idea what we've been through? Robert entered the room uninvited, looking around with thinly veiled contempt. 2 weeks, Ethan. 2 weeks without a word, missing important deadlines, worrying your mother sick. I needed time to think. Think? His father laughed, but without humor. About what? About how to destroy everything we've built? About how to disappoint 3 generations of the family? Ethan closed the door, trying to keep his voice down. Dad, can we talk without yelling? People here are... Oh, you care about these people now? Robert gestured toward the window. Ethan, look where you are. A rundown motel in a town that's not even on the map. Is this what you want for your life? Maybe. The answer made his father's face red. Don't be ridiculous, you have responsibilities. The semester at Harvard starts in 3 weeks. Investors are waiting to meet the future CEO of the company. What if I don't want to be CEO? You have no choice. Robert slammed his fist on the small table, making the empty ashtray jump. This company is our heritage, our responsibility. You can't just throw it away because of an adolescent existential crisis. I'm 23, Dad. Then start acting like an adult. The older man approached, lowering his voice but maintaining the intensity. Ethan, your grandfather built this company with his own hands. Your grandmother sacrificed everything to support this family. You have Sterling blood in your veins. That means something. Ethan felt the familiar weight of expectations settling on his shoulders like a lead cloak. What if I don't want to carry that weight? Then you're not the man I raised. The words came out cold, cutting. Come on, pack your things. Let's go home and sort this out properly. No. What did you say? I said no, Dad. I'm not going. Robert looked at the lawyer, who had remained silent until then. Charles, explain to my son the legal consequences of abandoning his responsibilities. Actually, Mr. Sterling, the lawyer cleared his throat, uncomfortable. Ethan is an adult. We can't force him to. Then cut off his access to his accounts, to his cards, to everything. Ethan felt a pang of panic but forced himself to remain calm. Do it. I'll manage. Manage how? Robert laughed dismissively. You've never worked a day in your life. Never had to worry about money. How long do you think you'll last here without our support? As long as it takes. Father and son stared at each other in tense silence. Ethan could see disappointment and anger in his father's eyes, but also something that looked like fear. Fear of losing control, of seeing the family empire crumble. There's a woman involved in this, isn't there? Robert asked suddenly. That's why you don't want to come back. Ethan didn't answer, but the expression on his face gave everything away. Ethan. His father shook his head with genuine sadness. You're throwing away your future for someone you don't even know well. You know nothing about her. I know enough. I know she's not from our world. I know this relationship won't work out in the long run. Robert walked toward the door. When you get tired of this fantasy, when reality hits, we'll be waiting. But not indefinitely. What does that mean? It means you have 1 month, Ethan. 1 month to come home and take responsibility. After that, he paused at the door. After that, we'll consider other options for the company's succession. You'd disinherit me? I'd do whatever was necessary to protect the family legacy. Robert looked at his son one last time. I hope you make the right decision. The door closed, leaving Ethan alone in the small room, with the silence weighing like a threat. Through the window, he saw his father's black car drive away, raising a cloud of dust on the dirt road. 1 month. He had 1 month to decide between two completely different worlds. And for the first time since he arrived there, Ethan wasn't sure which he would choose. Ethan spent the entire day in the garden, unable to concentrate on work. His father's words echoed in his mind. 1 month. And Ruby's. Either you're honest with me or it's better to leave me alone. Mr. Peterson noticed his distraction. Kid, you're more lost than a compass in a magnet factory. What happened? My family came to get me. And you didn't go? No. Ethan plunged the hoe into the earth with more force than necessary. But they gave me an ultimatum. I have 1 month to go back. And what are you going to do? I don't know. Ethan stopped working and looked at the horizon. I don't know anything anymore. Can I give you some old man's advice? Ethan nodded. Stop trying to solve everything at once. Go talk to Ruby. Really talk to her. You'll figure out the rest later. Mr. Peterson wiped his hands on his pants. True love doesn't come along every day, kid. When it does, you fight for it. Late afternoon found Ethan standing in front of Ruby's house, his heart pounding like a drum. He had rehearsed what to say, but now all the words seemed inadequate. Ruby appeared on the porch before he even rang the doorbell, as if she were waiting. Hi, she said, her voice softer than the day before. Hi. Can we talk? She nodded and came down the steps, stopping a safe distance from him. You're leaving, aren't you? I don't know. Maybe. My family. Ethan took a deep breath. Ruby, I need to tell you everything. The whole truth. Then tell me. My full name is Ethan Sterling. My family owns Sterling Holdings. You've probably seen our buildings in New York City. He paused, seeing the surprise in her eyes. We're very wealthy. More than you can imagine. Ruby crossed her arms but remained silent. I grew up having everything decided for me. Which school to attend, what clothes to wear, what career to pursue. I never got to choose anything. The words came out faster and faster. They wanted to send me to Harvard to prepare me to take over the company. I couldn't stand being a puppet anymore, so I ran away, and ended up here by chance. I stopped here to ask for directions and found you. And for the first time in my life, someone saw me as Ethan, not as the Sterling heir. He took a step toward her. Ruby, everything I've experienced here is real. The work in the garden, the conversations at the stand, what I feel for you. None of it was pretend. But you omitted who you were, because I was afraid. The admission hurt. Afraid you'd treat me differently. Afraid you'd think I was playing with your life. Ruby watched him for long seconds. And now? Did your parents come to get you? They did. They gave me an ultimatum. 1 month to come back or they'll cut me off from the family. Ethan tried to decipher her expression. But I don't want to go back, Ruby. I want to stay here. With you. Ethan, she sighed. Do you realize what you're saying? You have an entire life waiting for you in New York City. Responsibilities. Opportunities. I have you here. And that's enough? The question caught him off guard. I think so. I hope so. Ruby fell silent, looking at the mountains in the background. Do you know why I was angry yesterday? Because I lied. Not just that. She turned to him. I was angry because I fell in love with you, and finding out you had omitted something so important made me question if I really knew you. Ethan's heart stopped. You fell in love? Are you deaf? Ruby laughed, but there were tears in her eyes. Of course I fell in love. With a guy who appeared out of nowhere, who works hard even with blisters on his hands, who eats guava like it's the first time in his life. Ethan moved closer. Ruby, but I need to know, she continued, serious. Is what you feel for me not just the novelty, the adventure of being away from home? No. Ethan cupped her face in his hands. It's love, Ruby. True, terrifying, the kind that changes everything. I've never felt this before. Neither have I, she whispered. They kissed right there on the small porch with the sky turning golden in the background. It was a soft kiss, full of promises and fears, of true love and uncertainties about the future. When they separated, Ruby rested her forehead on his. And now? Now we fight for this, Ethan said, echoing Mr. Peterson's words. I'm not giving up on us. Even if it costs your inheritance? Especially if it costs my inheritance. Ruby smiled, and for the first time in days, Ethan felt that everything would be all right. 2 weeks after his father's visit, Ethan had transformed into a man with a mission. During the day, he worked in the garden with Mr. Peterson, but at night he locked himself in his inn room with a notebook and laptop, researching and taking notes until late hours. You've been very mysterious, Ruby commented one afternoon as they organized fruit crates together, always scribbling in that notebook. It's just projects, Ethan deflected, quickly closing the pages full of drawings and numbers. What kind of projects? You'll know soon. He smiled, giving her a quick kiss on the forehead. Do you trust me? Ruby laughed. I'm trying. But you're strange, Ethan. Ever since we reconciled, it seems like you're plotting something. Maybe I am. The truth was, Ethan spent his nights researching everything about artisan bakeries, health regulations, professional equipment, and business models for small rural businesses. He had discreetly contacted Mr. Peterson's brother-in-law about the necessary paperwork and even spoken with suppliers in New York City. His plan was taking shape, but it had to be perfect before he presented it to Ruby. Ethan, Grandma Rose called from the house door. Can you come here for a minute? He found the elderly woman sitting on the porch with a serious expression that didn't match her usually cheerful demeanor. Sit here, young man. She patted the chair next to hers. We need to talk. Ethan sat down, sensing that this conversation would be important. You really like Ruby, don't you? Very much. I'm in love with her. And she with you. Even a blind man can see that. Grandma Rose sighed. But I've lived many years, Ethan. I've seen true love, and I've seen passing infatuation. And I'm worried. Why? Because you are from very different worlds. And no matter how strong the love is, sometimes it's not enough. She looked him directly in the eyes. Can you guarantee that you won't get tired of this simple life? That you won't miss your world? Ethan pondered the question. Grandma Rose, I spent 23 years in my world and was never happy. Here in a few weeks I found more peace and purpose than in my entire previous life. But your family, my family can learn to accept my choices. Or not. But I can't live the life they want for me just to please them. Grandma Rose nodded slowly. And what if I told you Ruby is afraid? Afraid of what? Of you leaving. She doesn't say it, but I see it. Every time your phone rings, she gets tense. Every time you mention New York City, she changes the subject. The elderly woman held his hand. This girl has suffered a lot, Ethan. She needs security, not adventure. I want to give her security. Then prove it. How? Show her you're truly here to stay, not just with words. Grandma Rose smiled. You're plotting something, aren't you? I always see you writing, making plans. Ethan hesitated, then decided to trust her. I'm researching how to open a bakery, for Ruby. I want to help her achieve her dream. The elderly woman's eyes filled with tears. Young man, I know she won't easily accept my money, so I'm thinking of a way to make it seem like it's her project, that she earned it on her own merit. Ethan opened the notebook showing the drawings. Look, a small but professional bakery, where the stand used to be. Modern equipment, but a rustic atmosphere. Traditional sweets with a contemporary presentation. Grandma Rose leafed through the pages, seeing floor plans, equipment lists, financial projections, menu ideas. Did you do all this? With the help of professionals I consulted by phone. I want it to be perfect. And how do you intend to convince her to accept? Ethan smiled. I'm still working on that. But I have some ideas. Ethan, Grandma Rose held his hand tightly. If you're doing this from the heart, if you truly want to see my girl happy, you have my blessing. Really? Really. But be careful about one thing. Ruby is proud. If she finds out you're footing the bill for everything, she might feel humiliated. That's why I need to do it right. Grandma Rose nodded. Then count on me for whatever you need. This bakery has always been her dream. If you can make that dream come true without hurting her pride, you will have won not only her heart but mine too. Ethan looked at the notebook full of plans and dreams. There were 2 weeks left until his father's ultimatum expired. But for the first time since he arrived there, he wasn't thinking about deadlines or pressures. He was thinking about building something lasting, something that would prove his choices were right. Something that would prove that true love was worth any sacrifice. 3 days before his father's deadline expired, Ethan received a call that would change everything. Ethan, it's Mom. Eleanor Sterling's voice was different, softer, almost pleading. I need to talk to you. He was in Grandma Rose's backyard, helping to harvest mangoes for the next day's stand. Ruby worked a few yards away, humming softly. Mom, if it's to convince me to come back, your father is in the hospital. His world stopped. What? Heart attack, last night. He's stable, but... Her voice broke. Ethan, I need you here. Ethan sat on a stone, feeling his legs weaken. How is he? Conscious, but scared. The doctor said it was stress, worry. Eleanor paused. He kept repeating your name all night. Mom, I know you two argued. I know he was too harsh. But Ethan, please. He's your father. And maybe we don't have much time. The call ended, leaving Ethan stunned. Ruby approached, concerned. What's wrong? You went white. My father is in the hospital. Heart attack. My goodness. Ruby dropped the basket of mangoes and knelt beside him. How is he? I don't know. My mom said he's stable, but... Ethan buried his face in his hands. Ruby, I need to go to New York City. Of course you do. It's your family. But what if it's a trick? What if they're lying to get me to come back? Ruby held his face, forcing him to look at her. Ethan, if there's even the slightest chance your father is truly sick, you have to go. You can sort out the rest later. What about us? We'll be fine. Go. Sort things out with your family. I'll be here when you get back. Ethan hugged Ruby tightly, smelling the scent of flowers in her hair, trying to imprint that moment in his memory. I'll be back. I promise I'll be back. I know. But there was something in her voice, a sadness, a resignation, that made Ethan's heart clench. 2 hours later, he was on the road to New York City, with a small suitcase and his notebook of plans on the passenger seat. The hospital was private, in the city's most expensive neighborhood, and Ethan felt strange entering that luxurious environment after weeks in the simplicity of the countryside. He found his father in the ICU, connected to machines but awake. Robert Sterling seemed to have aged 10 years in a month. Ethan, his voice was weak, hoarse. Hi, Dad. How are you? Better now that you're here. Robert tried to smile. I thought you wouldn't come. Of course I'd come. You're my father. They remained silent for a few minutes, just listening to the beeping of the monitors. Ethan, his father finally said, I overreacted. I was too hard on you. Dad, let me speak. Robert raised a trembling hand. When I was in the ambulance, I thought I was going to die without having said this. I just wanted you to have the opportunities I didn't have. I thought I was protecting you, preparing you. I know, Dad. But I didn't listen to you. I didn't ask what you wanted. The older man's eyes filled with tears. Can you forgive me? Ethan felt his throat tighten. Of course I forgive you. And about the company. If you don't want to take over, we'll find another solution. I can hire managers, sell part of the shares. Dad, you don't need to decide that now. You need to recover. I do. Because I almost lost my son because of money and power. Robert held Ethan's hand. Tell me about her, about the girl who made you want to stay there. Ethan smiled for the first time since his mother's call. Her name is Ruby. She's incredible, Dad. Strong, generous, talented. She takes care of her elderly great-aunt, works hard, has a gift for baking you can't even imagine. Do you love her? Very much? Then that's what matters. Robert closed his eyes, tired. Your grandfather always said that a man without love is a man without purpose. In the following days, while his father recovered, Ethan divided his time between the hospital and meetings with lawyers and company managers. To his surprise, he discovered that he could transfer operational management to competent professionals, maintaining only strategic oversight. He could have the best of both worlds. On the fourth night in New York City, Ruby called. Her voice sounded strange. Ethan, I need to tell you something. What's wrong? An opportunity came up. For work. In Chicago. Ethan's heart stopped. What kind of opportunity? A large bakery. They saw my sweets at a party here in town and offered me a chef position. It's a unique chance, Ethan. And you're going to accept? The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Ruby? I don't know. You're there, with your family, sorting out your life. Maybe it's time for me to sort out mine too. The call ended, leaving Ethan alone in the hotel room, with the feeling that he was losing the only thing that truly mattered. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He stayed in the hotel room making frantic calls to suppliers, architects, Mr. Peterson's brother-in-law, anyone who could speed up his plans. Ethan, it's 3 a.m, complained the architect he had hired. Can't this wait until tomorrow? No, it can't. I need the designs approved today, the health permit tomorrow, and the equipment arriving by the end of the week. That's impossible. I'll pay double, triple if necessary. Ethan paced the room. Just tell me it's possible. With enough money, anything is possible, but it's going to cost a fortune. It doesn't matter. At the hospital, he found his father visibly better, sitting in bed drinking coffee. You look like you haven't slept, Robert observed. Dad, I need to go back. Today. Because of her? She received a job offer in Chicago. If I don't do something now, Ethan sat in the chair next to the bed. I'll lose her. Robert studied his son for a few seconds. What do you need? For you to sign some documents transferring part of the company's administration and… Ethan hesitated. I need a lot of money, quickly. How much? 300,000. For what? Ethan opened the notebook showing the designs. I'm going to set up a bakery for her. The bakery of her dreams. With professional equipment, everything legalized, ready to operate. Robert leafed through the pages, seeing the detailed drawings, financial projections, market research. You did all this? In the last few weeks. I want her to have a reason to stay, Dad. A reason beyond me. What if she refuses? What if she doesn't accept your money? Then I'll have to convince her that it's not charity. It's an investment. Ethan closed the notebook. Dad, I found my purpose. It's not taking over the company. It's not following family traditions. It's making someone I love happy. Robert nodded slowly. Charles, he called to the lawyer waiting in the hallway. Prepare the documents. My son will need full access to the accounts. 2 hours later, Ethan was on the road back to the countryside, with signed contracts, authorized transfers, and a race against time that would determine his future. He called Ruby from the car, but she didn't answer. He tried 3 more times on the way. Nothing. He arrived in town at dusk and went straight to her house. He found Grandma Rose on the porch with a sad expression. She's not here, the elderly woman said, before he even asked. Where did she go? Chicago. She left this morning to talk to the bakery owners. Ethan felt his world crumble. When is she coming back? I don't know if she's coming back, young man. Grandma Rose stood up from her chair. She was very confused, very hurt. She said you had your life in New York City, your family to take care of. That's not true. I know, but she doesn't. The elderly woman looked at him with affection. Ruby has always been like that. When she's afraid of getting hurt, she runs. And now? What do I do? Show her you don't give up easily. Ethan looked at the fruit stand, already closed for the day, and had an idea. Grandma Rose, can you help me with something? What is it? I'm going to transform this place into a bakery. Tonight, when she comes back, I want her to see that her dreams have come true." Grandma Rose's eyes widened. "Ethan, that's madness." "Maybe, but it's my only chance." He picked up his phone and started making calls. Trucks of equipment that were on their way. Masons and electricians who would work through the night. Suppliers who would deliver construction materials before dawn. "Young man," Grandma Rose said when he finished the calls, "are you sure about this?" "Absolutely. Can you teach me her recipes? The recipes from the original bakery?" "I can. But Ethan, what if she doesn't accept? What if she thinks you're trying to buy her?" Ethan looked at the spot where he had met Ruby, where she had offered him water and a guava with a smile that had changed his life. "Then at least she'll know I tried. That I did everything I could to prove that her love is worth more than any inheritance." The first trucks arrived at 10 o'clock at night, bringing professional bakery equipment. The workers toiled all night, transforming the simple fruit stand into a small, modern yet cozy bakery. By dawn, Ethan was exhausted, covered in paint and cement, but smiling. There was Ruby's dream materialized. Professional ovens, refrigerated display cases, rustic but elegant decor, a kitchen where she could create her edible works of art. Now all that was left was for her to come back and accept. Ruby arrived from Chicago late the next afternoon on a bus that dropped her off in the town square. She'd spent 2 days getting to know the bakery that had offered her the position. Modern, efficient, with a salary 3 times higher than anything she could dream of earning there. She should have been happy. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. But throughout the journey back, she could only think of Ethan. She was walking along the dirt road towards home when she saw strange activity where the fruit stand used to be. There were several people around, cars parked, and a structure she didn't recognize. She approached slowly, not understanding what was happening. "Ruby!" Mr. Peterson waved to her, a huge smile on his face. "Girl, you have to see this." "See what? What's going on here?" "You'd better see it with your own eyes." Ruby walked around the curious onlookers and stopped, speechless. Where there had once been a simple fruit stand, a small bakery now stood. The walls were exposed brick. The windows had colorful wooden frames, and a carved wooden sign read, "Grandma Rose's Delights, Artisan Bakery." "What? What is this?" "It's your gift," said a voice behind her. Ruby turned and saw Ethan, his hair messy, clothes stained with paint, deep dark circles under his eyes, but smiling as if he had conquered the world. "My gift?" She looked from the bakery to him, unable to process it. "Ethan, what kind of madness is this?" "The madness of a man in love." He approached but kept a respectful distance. "Ruby, I couldn't let you leave without showing you that your dreams can come true right here, with us. You built this for me? With the help of your great aunt, Mr. Peterson, half the town." Ethan gestured to the bakery. "Want to see inside?" Ruby entered in a state of shock. The interior was even more impressive. Professional ovens, industrial mixers, marble countertops, empty display refrigerators waiting for her sweets. Everything new, everything perfect, everything exactly as she had dreamed for years. "Ethan," her voice was a whisper, "this must have cost a fortune." "It did, but it's worth every penny if it makes you happy." Ruby turned to him, and Ethan saw tears rolling down her face. "You're crazy. Completely crazy." "I am. Crazy for you. I can't accept this." She shook her head vigorously. "It's too much, Ethan. It's my entire life's work summarized in a purchase by you." "It's not a purchase." Ethan pulled papers from his pocket. "It's a loan. Here are the agreements. You pay it back as the bakery makes a profit. All legal, all documented. You'll be the owner. I'm just the investor." Ruby took the papers with trembling hands. "Why, Ethan? Why did you do this?" "Because when someone offers you an opportunity in Chicago, I want you to have a better opportunity here. Because I want you to achieve your dreams without having to choose between them and love." He gently held her face. "And because I want to prove that I didn't come here to play at being poor. I came here to build a real life. With you. What about your family? The company?" I sorted everything out. My father understood. "The company will have professional managers. I'll supervise remotely." Ethan smiled. I can have both worlds, Ruby, but only if you're with me. Ruby looked around once more, at the gleaming equipment, at Grandma Rose watching from the doorway with tears in her eyes, at the neighbors who had gathered to see the surprise. "There's something I need to tell you," she finally said. Ethan's heart stopped. "What is it?" "I didn't accept the position in Chicago." "What?" "I said no, even before seeing this." Ruby laughed through her tears. "Because I realized that no matter where I go, my heart stays here. With you, with Grandma Rose, with this life we've built together." Ethan pulled her into a hug, spinning with her in the middle of the bakery as the neighbors cheered outside. "So you accept?" he asked when they stopped spinning. "The bakery, the partnership, life with me?" Ruby looked deeply into his eyes. "I accept the bakery. I accept the partnership." She paused dramatically. "But about life with you?" Ethan's face paled. "Ruby, about life with you?" She continued smiling. "I'll have to think about it. It's a very serious decision." "It is?" "It is, after all." Ruby leaned in until their lips almost touched. "Forever is a long time. And are you in?" "I'm in." They kissed in the middle of her dream bakery, as the sun set golden through the window, painting everything with the color of hope. 3 weeks later, Grandma Rose's Delights officially opened its doors. Ruby had spent days testing recipes in the new ovens, adapting her great-aunt's formulas for larger production, and Ethan had learned that there was a huge difference between eating sweets and understanding how to make them. "Ethan, for the 10th time, you can't open the oven in the middle of baking," Ruby complained, pulling out a batch of cupcakes that deflated when he peeked. "Sorry, I'm still learning." He laughed, wiping flour from his face. "Who knew making sweets was as complicated as running a company?" "More complicated," Grandma Rose commented from the counter where she was decorating cakes. "A company you can rebuild. A burned cake is a definite loss." The inauguration morning brought a line of curious customers that stretched to the town square. It seemed the whole town wanted to taste Ruby's famous sweets in her new home. "Nervous?" Ethan asked, adjusting her apron. "Terrified," Ruby admitted, looking through the window at the crowd. "What if no one likes it? What if the recipe didn't turn out well in the new ovens?" "Impossible." He kissed her forehead. "Your sweets are perfect. People will love them. What about you? Don't you regret trading air-conditioned meetings for flour on your clothes?" Ethan looked around the bakery, at Grandma Rose humming as she worked, at the ovens that filled the air with delicious aromas, at Ruby with her cheeks flushed from nervousness and sugar in her hair. "I've never felt so in the right place in my life." They opened the doors at 9 in the morning. The first customer was Mr. Peterson, who ordered a coffee and 2 sugar buns. "To test if they're as good as Grandma Rose's," he said with a wink. Then came the neighbors, followed by people from nearby towns who had heard about the new bakery. The line didn't shrink. "Ruby, these chocolate truffles are divine," exclaimed an elderly woman who had come from far away. "Better than the ones in the city." "The cornmeal cake is just like Grandma Rose used to make," commented another customer. In the afternoon, when they finally had a break, Ethan found Ruby sitting in the back of the bakery, looking at the calculator with an incredulous expression. "What's wrong?" "Ethan, we sold everything. Everything. And people are placing orders for next week." She showed him the noted orders. 3 birthday cakes, sweets for a wedding, and an order for 100 chocolate truffles for a company. "That's good, isn't it?" "It's unbelievable." Ruby stood up and hugged him. "Do you know how much we earned today?" "How much?" "More than I used to make in a month at the fruit stand." Ethan twirled her in the air, both laughing with happiness and relief. When he set her down, she became serious for a moment. "Ethan, there's something I need to tell you." "What is it?" "This morning, a culinary magazine called from New York City. They want to do an article about innovative rural bakeries." Ruby smiled. "I think someone might have given them a tip." Ethan tried to look innocent. "Me? I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you don't." She laughed. "But thank you. For everything. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you. For teaching me that there are ways to be rich that have nothing to do with money." That night, after they closed the bakery and tallied the day's earnings, they sat on Grandma Rose's porch, watching the stars in the clear country sky. "You know my parents want to meet you, right?" Ethan said suddenly. "Really?" "My father especially." He said he wants to meet the woman who managed to make his son truly happy. Ethan held her hand. Would you be willing to go to New York City with me this weekend? Ruby hesitated for a moment. What if they don't like me? Impossible. But even if they don't, it doesn't matter. You're my choice. My family will have to accept that. What if I feel out of place in your world? Then we'll come back here and forget New York City. Ruby, my world is wherever you are now. She smiled and rested her head on his shoulder. Okay, let's go meet your parents. And after we get back, Ethan said, playing with her fingers, maybe we can talk about other plans. What kind of plans? The kind that involve a white dress and a party with a cake made by the best baker in the region. Ruby lifted her head, looking into his eyes. Ethan Sterling, are you asking me to marry you? Not yet, but I'm letting you know I'm going to ask soon. And are you sure you want to marry a country baker? I'm sure I want to marry the woman who taught me what true love is. Ruby smiled, a smile that illuminated not only her face, but the entire future they would build together. A year later, Grandma Rose's Delights had become a must-visit spot for tourists visiting the region. The culinary magazine had done the promised article, and other publications followed suit. Ruby had appeared on television twice, always crediting the recipes to her great-aunt and family tradition. But what she was most proud of wasn't the articles or the financial success. It was seeing Grandma Rose every morning, sitting in the special chair Ethan had had made for her, supervising production with eyes shining with satisfaction. Child, this orange cake is perfection, the elderly woman would say, tasting a slice. Better than mine from way back. Impossible, Grandma Rose, you're the master. I was. Now you are. Grandma Rose smiled. And look how far we've come. Through the bakery window, one could see the morning's activity. Ethan talking to Mr. Peterson about the new organic garden that would supply fresh ingredients. Tourists photographing the colorful facade. Local school children arriving for the weekly free baking class Ruby offered. Ruby, called Lily, one of the 12-year-old students. Can I try making the chocolate truffles by myself today? Of course, but be careful with the heat. Ethan entered carrying a crate of freshly picked oranges, his face sun-kissed, his hands calloused from so much work on the land. Sometimes Ruby would watch him and wonder how such a transformation had been possible. From the lost young man who had stopped to ask for directions to the fulfilled man who now knew every fruit in the region and could predict the weather just by looking at the clouds. The oranges are perfect for today's pie, he said, kissing her cheek. And a special order came in. What order? 50 chocolate truffles for an engagement party in New York City. The client specifically asked for Ruby's country chocolate truffles that were on TV. Ruby laughed. See, Grandma Rose, we became famous. Famous nothing, Grandma Rose protested. You became happy, which is much better. In the afternoon, when they closed the bakery, Ethan found Ruby sitting on the porch of the house looking at the street activity. Thinking about what? How strange life is. A year ago, I was here selling fruits by the roadside, dreaming of a bakery that seemed impossible. She leaned her head on his shoulder. And you were in New York City, running from a life you didn't want. And now? Now we have this. Ruby gestured to the bakery, to the street where acquaintances waved, to the life they had built together. A life we truly chose. No regrets? None. And you? Ethan looked at the wedding ring he had worn for 3 months, since their simple but moving wedding in the town square. No regrets, just gratitude. Gratitude for what? For having the courage to stop and ask for directions at a lost stand on the road. He kissed the top of her head. For you offering me water instead of just giving directions. Grandma Rose always said we don't let anyone go thirsty at our door. Wise woman, your great aunt. They remained silent, watching the tranquil afternoon activity in the countryside. A child passed by on a bicycle. A dog slept in the shade of the tree in front. The smell of cake wafted from the bakery window. Ethan, Ruby said suddenly, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? I'm pregnant. His world stopped. Ethan pulled back to look her in the eyes. Seriously? I found out this morning. 2 months. Ruby smiled, a radiant smile of happiness. What do you think? I think... Ethan tried to find words to express the emotion growing in his chest. I think our child will grow up in a place where they can choose their own dreams. What if they want to follow tradition? Take over the bakery? Then we'll teach Grandma Rose's recipes to another generation. Ethan hugged Ruby tightly. What if they want to be an astronaut? Then we'll make rocket-shaped chocolate truffles. They laughed, imagining the future unfolding before them, full of possibilities, of free choices, of true love. When the sun set that afternoon, painting the sky golden as on the day they met, Ethan and Ruby remained there hand in hand, looking at the small wooden sign next to the bakery door. Grandma Rose's Delights, Artisan Bakery, and below in smaller, affectionate lettering, "Don't let the fear of others define your life." His great-aunt's phrase had become their motto, a constant reminder that true happiness comes from courageous choices, genuine love, and the courage to build an authentic life. There, in that small corner of the countryside where time moved slower and dreams had room to grow, Ethan and Ruby had found something more precious than any inheritance. They had found themselves.